Welcome to the Temple of Elemental Evil, Episode 11.
I am Dreadmore, your Dungeon Master, and these are your players for Episode 11. Nyraxis, a third-level Infernal Tiefling Sorcerer. Malik, a third-level Cleric of Polluer. Dusty Slay, a third-level Ranger of the Gnarly Forest. Octavius, a third-level Stone Giant Goliath Wizard. Cantor, a third-level Orc Monk. Gothox, a third-level Druid of the Gnarly Forest. Let's turn to the next chapter in the story. The chapter title is Infiltration of the Gnoll Ring Fort. Our heroes travel from Hamlet and make their way to Verbobonk. But they first stop off in the Kron Hills to investigate the Gnoll Ring Fort. After 2 days of travel, they reach a ring fort at dusk. They decide to camp and scout the Gnoll Ring Fort and the surrounding area. During reconnaissance, they find tracks: 5 gnolls, 4 hyenas, and 4 horses heading west. They send the druid Gothox to catch up and scout the small band. He shapeshifts into a hawk and flies west. After a couple of hours, Gothox spots the gnoll band heading toward Nulb. He circles back to relay the information to the party. Then Gothox flies over the Gnoll Ring Fort, taking mental notes of the buildings, guards, and layout. Dusty, their cartographer, draws a full map of the ring fort. The party studies the map and designs a battle plan approach from the opposite side of the entrance. Before they move, Nyraxis casts Mage Armor, False Life, and Invisibility, and activates his Boots of Flying. He ascends 30 feet into the air. Octavius follows suit, casting Mage Armor and False Life as well. They apply survival skills and make makeshift camouflage, which allowed them to approach the unguarded section of the wall without incident. With all player characters at the wall, Cantor jumps over, landing on the wall's inside edge. This places him behind the old temple and out of sight of the guards on the far side of the ring fort. Cantor then throws down a knotted rope for his companions. Everyone climbs up the rope without incident. Inside the ring fort, the party moves the rope so it descends into the area behind the old temple. All players except Nyraxis descend to ground level and use the old temple walls to hide from gnolls and hyenas roaming inside. Malik casts a bless spell on Dusty, Cantor, and Gothox, granting them a divine advantage over their foes. Dusty and Gothox create sounds of movement to draw in a nearby hyena. The hyena moves behind the temple from the south and is immediately eliminated by Dusty's readied strike with his great axe. The hyena's high-pitched yelp signals nearby danger, drawing 3 more hyenas toward the sound. 2 hyenas make their way to the south side of the old temple, while one sneaks around the northern side where Octavius stands. The northern hyena bites Octavius, alerting the party to danger on both sides of the temple's back area. Nyraxis scouts the area with an aerial view and relays what he sees to his companions. His voice carries across the silent afternoon air as the 2 gnolls on the far side are alerted. One gnoll descends to the pen where the giant hyenas are caged. He opens the cage and releases the 4 giant hyenas loose into the ring fort. The other gnoll guard maintains position at the ring fort entrance, waiting for an assault from that direction. 3 of the 4 giant hyenas head toward the temple area, joined by 4 smaller hyenas. The pack splits, attacking from both sides of the old temple's rear area. Dusty drops 2 more smaller hyenas, bringing his total to 4 kills. Octavius climbs back up the rope to the wall's edge, allowing Cantor to move to the right side of the temple and take out two smaller hyenas with a flurry of blows. Meanwhile, Gothox casts spike growth on the northern side. Any creature entering that area takes piercing damage. One small and one giant hyena moves through the spike growth, taking decent damage as they press toward Cantor. The monk dispatches the hostile beasts with swift, decisive blows. Octavius and Nyraxis unleash flamebolt spells on the giant hyena to the north. The combined flame and the ongoing damage from the spike growth prove too much, and the giant hyena falls. Nyraxis was now visible again after his opening strike. With the giant hyena fallen, gnolls began pouring from their huts, alarms raised as the ring fort woke to the assault. 4 gnolls and a giant hyena used the stairs to climb the northern wall's ledge, scanning for hostiles. They spotted Nyraxis high above the temple's roof and loosed bone longbows in his direction. One massive arrow slammed into Nyraxis. The arrow was painful, but he answered in kind. A firebolt struck the gnoll in front, kicking it in scorched flesh. Octavius supported Nyraxis, firing on the gnolls on the wall ledge with his wand of magic missiles. The combined magic of Nyraxis and Octavius felled 2 of the 4 gnolls on the ledge, but the remaining duo and the giant hyena pressed closer to the party. Down on the south side of the old temple, Dusty and Gothox pressed their own flank. They continued drawing hyenas toward their ambush site. They felled one of the 2 approaching hyenas, but the other lunged forward and scored a critical bite against Dusty. Gothox had a momentary misfire with a sacred flame that slammed into the wall instead of the hyena, but Dusty finished off the remaining goated hyena with a decisive strike. A whistle suddenly cuts through the fort, and the hyenas begin to retreat toward the whistle's source. It seems the gnolls are organizing their pack for a stronger assault. The whistleblower gnoll, the first to react, slips into the old temple, and after 3 tense rounds emerges to attempt to restore order to the chaos. The heroes shift to counterattack. Gothox notices enemies at the temple entrance and calls for action. He tries an entanglement spell on a cluster of giant hyenas, but the hyenas and others resist, slipping free and closing the distance. One of the giant hyenas lunges at Gothox, but the druid nimbly dodges and avoids a bite. Dusty, Malik, and Cantor advance to support Gothox. Gothox, unsatisfied with his position, casts a misty step and reappears behind the towering giant hyenas. Unfortunately, he finds himself suddenly in the line of fire from 5 gnolls who launch bone longbow shots in his direction. Fortunately for him, all the arrows miss. Realizing the danger, Dusty and Cantor capitalize on the moment to strike. They manage to wipe out another giant hyena and a regular hyena. But one giant hyena remains focused on Malik, Cantor, and Dusty, threatening to overwhelm them. This is where our story ends for this week of the adventure. Do the heroes press their advantage and storm the central keep, or consolidate and fortify their current position? What countermeasures do the gnolls deploy in response to the party's infiltrations? Will Nyraxis' aerial reconnaissance reveal a hidden objective within the ring fort that could turn the tide once more? Tune in next week to find out. Join us next week for episode 12, where our heroes continue their assault on the gnoll threat in the Cron Hills.